Yeah, it was my idea. It rocks, huh?
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most unforgettable Law & Order SVU episodes that borrowed their plot lines straight from real-life criminal cases.
No, it's a house of horrors. It's sick in there. He's got tasers, zip tie restraints, there's German shepherds out in the yard.
It's another Ariel Castro, my God.
Number 30. Michael Jackson allegations. In 1993, music icon Michael Jackson was accused of inappropriate behavior with Jordan Chandler, a teenager who often visited his Neverland ranch. Before the claims went public, Chandler's father Evan allegedly tried to extort Jackson, threatening to spill the story unless he was paid off.
He blamed the mass media for promoting the allegations and urged the public to wait and hear the truth before passing judgment.
When the allegations finally reached the press, the LAPD launched an investigation, which was thwarted when the Chandlers declined to testify, conveniently after receiving a hefty $15 million settlement from Jackson. This bizarre saga inspired the Season 5 episode Sick, in which a boy accuses billionaire toy mogul Billy Tripley of sexual assault at his whimsical mansion, the Magic Kingdom. Like Jackson, Tripley walks away unscathed when the child's family opts for a payout.
The mood in here is pretty festive.
I've been vindicated, but the real winners are the children.
Number 29. Ray Rice assault incident. In this Season 16 episode, a famous sportscaster finds himself in the news when security footage captures him physically assaulting his girlfriend.
So like I told the boys that night, had too much to drink, had some words, that's all.
Those words didn't turn into deeds?
Hey, I love my girl. But even she will tell you that she goes off the rails when she's had a few.
As the SVU team digs deeper, they uncover more signs of domestic violence and urge the girlfriend to press charges and leave him. Their efforts fail, however, as she remains loyal to him even after his arrest, trial, and conviction. Several details from the episode were directly lifted from the 2014 scandal involving former NFL player Ray Rice. Rice's career imploded after footage surfaced of him assaulting his then-fiancée Janae Palmer.
By early afternoon, the Ravens had terminated Rice's contract. The NFL suspending him indefinitely.
Despite his indictment on third-degree aggravated assault, Palmer stayed by his side and even married him just one day after the charges were announced. Number 28. The murder of Sherri Rasmussen. Oscar-winning actress Marcia Gay Harden delivered a memorable guest performance on Law & Order SVU as FBI agent Dana Lewis.
Dana.
Olivia? Hey, long time.
FBI agent Lewis. This is my partner, Nick Amaro.
Nice to meet you, Sunshine.
You too.
Her final appearance came in the Season 14 episode Secrets Exhumed, where she partnered with the SVU team to investigate a string of unsolved murders. It is eventually revealed that Lewis herself was behind one of the killings, having murdered the fiancé of her ex-boyfriend. While fans didn't exactly applaud this turn of events, it echoed a chilling real-life case. In 1986, Sherri Rasmussen was murdered in the Los Angeles apartment she shared with her husband. Initially chalked up to a botched burglary, investigators eventually made a shocking revelation. LAPD officer Stephanie Lazarus, who previously dated Rasmussen's husband, killed her apparently out of jealousy.
The 26-year police veteran was arrested this morning at Parker Center after being linked to the murder by DNA evidence.
Number 27. The murder of George Tiller. On May 31, 2009, Scott Roeder walked into the Reformation Lutheran Church in Wichita, Kansas, and fatally shot one of the ushers.
Services had just begun when 67-year-old George Tiller, a doctor in the middle of the abortion debate for 35 years, was gunned down in the church lobby while serving as an usher.
But this was not just a random act. The usher who was murdered that day was George Tiller, an abortion doctor who had long been the target of anti-abortion extremists. Tiller's tragic story loosely inspired a subplot in the SVU episode Hammered, and one of the characters even referenced his case.
And once that doctor was shot in his own church in Kansas this summer, I petitioned the court for sole custody, but lost.
The victim in the episode was also an abortion doctor who had received numerous threats on her life. Unlike the real-life case, however, the fictional perpetrator was not an anti-abortion extremist, but a man coping with alcohol use disorder who committed the crime during an alcohol-induced blackout. Number 26, the Ken Barbie Killers. Canadian couple Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka, infamously dubbed the Ken Barbie Killers, gained notoriety for their grisly crimes between 1990 and 1992.
There never was before and never was since such a string of attacks like that.
People were scared stiff for a very long time.
In that time, they sexually assaulted and murdered 3 victims, one of whom was Homolka's own younger sister. They were both arrested in 1993, but Homolka quickly flipped, claiming Bernardo had coerced her into the crimes. This case served as the basis for the season 4 episode Damaged, in which a girl and her boyfriend assault her younger sister, then conspire to kill her in a staged robbery to keep her silent.
So she's blaming you for the murder.
You're lying. She would never do that. She loved me.
While Bernardo was the alleged mastermind in the real-life case, the show flipped the script, making the girlfriend the diabolical planner and killer. Number 25, the Paula Deen and Trayvon Martin cases. Law & Order SVU often bases its episodes on real-life cases, but this season 15 installment took things up a notch by blending not one, but 2 high-profile scandals.
A rich white celebrity shoots a black teenager. The papers are already hailing her as the Raging Cajun.
The episode stars Sybil Shepherd as a celebrity chef with a troubling history of racial prejudice, who fatally shoots a black teenager, convinced he was about to attack her. If you followed the news in the early 2010s, this plot might ring a bell. It mirrors both the controversy involving Paula Deen, who lost business deals after admitting to using racial slurs, and the tragic shooting of Trayvon Martin by George Zimmerman in February 2012.
Zimmerman, who says the shooting was a case of self-defense after Martin attacked him, was eventually acquitted on second-degree murder and manslaughter charges. The verdict divided the nation.
Both the real-life and fictional cases end with the perpetrator being acquitted, sparking widespread protests. Number 24, the Jeffrey Epstein case. The Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case is a tangled mess that continues to unravel years after the disgraced financier's death in his jail cell. Naturally, when the SVU writers drew inspiration from it, the resulting story stretched over 2 episodes.
It's the son of a bitch. What he's done to my girls.
We're gonna talk to them, okay?
I don't even know where Ivy is. I kind of went off on it today, and she stormed off.
The plot follows a detective who, suspecting that his daughters are being targeted by a wealthy predator, turns to the SVU team. In part 1, the suspect is let off by a corrupt judge, but the detective takes matters into his own hands in the second part to ensure justice is served. By the end, the alleged predator is behind bars awaiting trial while he follows Epstein's lead and ends his life.
Getz has gone away with everything his whole life. Why quit now? A lot of people wanted him dead. Either way, his number was up.
SVU had previously tackled the Jeffrey Epstein case in the season 12 episode Flight. Number 23, the strip search phone call scam. In one of his most unsettling roles, the legendary Robin Williams starred in this season 9 episode as an audio engineer with a rebellious streak against authority.
How can I help you? You don't look sick. When is it a crime to play hooky, detective? Cough me now, guilty.
We'll get to that soon enough. May we come in?
At the start of the episode, the character calls into a fast food restaurant, pretending to be a detective, and orders the manager to strip search an employee. After his arrest by the SVU team, the episode veers into downright bizarre territory. However, that initial premise draws heavily from a real-life strip search phone call scam that plagued rural U.S. areas between 1994 and 2004.
The caller told the assistant manager, Donna Summers, he was a police officer. He convinced Summers her employee, Louise Ogborn, stole money from a customer. He went on to encourage Summers to perform a strip search on the young employee right there in the restaurant, and she did.
Much like Williams' character, who walks free in the episode, the man arrested in the actual case, David Richard Stewart, was also acquitted. As a result, the scams remain officially unsolved. Number 22, the murder of Shanda Sharer. High school romances are often fleeting and inconsequential, but things took a dark and tragic turn in the case of Shanda Sharer.
It was a crime of passion and peer pressure committed by 4 teenage girls.
Back in 1992, Sharer was abducted and killed by 4 teenage girls, all because she was dating one of the girls' ex-girlfriend. The crime was particularly horrific, given the circumstances of the case and the ages of everyone involved. The shocking case has since inspired several stage plays, novels, and even the season 5 episode of SVU titled Mean.
It was a joke. Tying somebody up and throwing them into the back of the trunk and then beating them to death is a joke.
We didn't hurt her. I mean, we just had her in the trunk, that's it. I don't know how all the other stuff happened.
While the episode does away with the romantic rivalry at the center of the real story, it still brought attention to harassment among children in schools and its devastating consequences. Number 21, The Boy in the Box Case. In February 1957, the body of a young boy was found stuffed in a box by the roadside in Pennsylvania. For more than 50 years, the boy's identity and the circumstances around his death remained a mystery.
For decades, generations of detectives have tried to figure out who was the boy in the box.
The longest continuously investigated homicide in the history of the Philadelphia Police Department.
That is essentially the premise of this Season 7 SVU episode. The story kicks off with authorities discovering the remains of an unidentified boy who disappeared in 1978. They managed to track down his killer, but due to the passage of time, he is unable to remember the boy's identity.
Sorry, I don't remember.
The real-life case offers a bittersweet turn, as the boy in the box was finally identified in 2022 as Joseph Augustus Zarelli. However, his killer and the events that led to his tragic fate remain unknown. Number 20, Bill Cosby assault allegations. In one Season 17 episode, a vlogger levels assault allegations against a famous actor. Despite other accusations against him piling up, the star quickly denies any involvement.
As of yesterday, the district attorney had elected not to proceed.
So she accuses me? Throws my name in the... You saw that video.
No one's questioning whether it started consensually.
The episode aired just around the time the accusations against actor and comedian Bill Cosby were rising in the news. So a lot of parallels were drawn between the SVU storyline and the real-life case. The show forges its own path, however, by making Amanda Rollins go undercover to obtain tangible proof against the predator after the charges were initially dropped.
It does look bad, Chief. I think you know you want this. I mean, it's the same MO as Christine.
Same MO as the other victim we found too.
But both the fictional star and real actor lost a lot of public faith after the cases were concluded. Number 19, The Case of Devin Moore and Grand Theft Auto. In June 2003, then 18-year-old Devin Moore was arrested for shooting 2 police officers and a dispatcher in Fayette, Alabama. At his trial in 2005, his lawyers attempted to introduce evidence claiming that his use of the popular video game Grand Theft Auto helped instigate the incident.
What we're saying is that Devin Moore was, in effect, trained to do what he did. He was given a murder simulator.
But the trial judge prevented the evidence from being shown to the jury, and Moore was convicted of the crime. The highly controversial case mirrors an episode where a teenage couple is arrested for committing brutal crimes against a young woman. The characters also claim to have been inspired to commit their misdeeds by an action video game called Intensity.
How could you not know? Because I didn't know where I was. The streets we were driving down were streets from the game. The people were characters from the game.
It wouldn't be the last time gaming would be linked to violence on television. Number 18, The Cameron Todd Willingham Case. When Cameron Todd Willingham's daughters perished in a fire that engulfed his Texas home in 1991, he was arrested for orchestrating the horrifying incident. Despite maintaining his innocence throughout the trial, Willingham was convicted of the crime and executed.
At 6 o'clock, Cameron Todd Willingham was told that his time was up.
When he was asked by the warden if he had anything to say, then he went into the statement that he said he had been wrongly convicted and that he was innocent.
The case later raised several questions over Willingham's guilt and the validity of the evidence used in convicting him. While most of the questions surrounding the real-life case remain unanswered, an SVU episode went a different route. A fictional father in the Torch episode managed to convince the assistant district attorney that he didn't commit the crime.
I'm telling you that Frank Sullivan did not set that fire.
Well, then your BS detector is on the fritz.
I believe him.
Eventually, he hires an expert who's able to prove the fire was due to faulty electrical wiring. Number 17, The Slender Man Crime. This episode was inspired by a harrowing 2014 case involving 2 young people who led their friend into the woods in search of a fictional entity called Slender Man.
Geyser and Wire said their motive to become proxies of the fictional horror character Slender Man.
Inspired by fan fiction posted on the Creepypasta wiki, the duo inflicted severe wounds on their friend and left her for dead. Luckily, the victim was able to get help from a cyclist, was taken to the hospital, and made a full recovery. The show replaces Slender Man with Glasgow Man and includes an initial suspect who was believed to be the fictional character. In the end, the entity turned out to be an innocent bystander.
So Charlie was telling the truth. He picked up that knife same as he did the camera.
Go give him the good news. Bring those girls back in here and tell their mothers why.
It's a particularly chilling episode that captured just how disturbing the real-life case was. Number 16, The Taking of Tanya Nicole Kach. In 1996, a security guard named Thomas Hose asked a student named Tanya Nicole Kach to live with him. He then proceeded to keep her captive within his house for years before changing her name to further cover up his crime.
Hose made Kach change her hair color and her name, and with those changes came limited freedoms. As she got out, Kach wanted more.
Eventually, Kach got away from him and reported Hose's sickening crimes. The breakdown of the case came when Kach told a store owner who she really was. An SVU episode mirrored the real-life events by having a story begin with a merchant trying to help someone who came into the store.
And then this woman grabs me and begs me to help her, also in Romanian.
What was wrong?
A man. She's trapped in a situation she cannot escape from.
After a few major twists, the authorities are able to save an innocent woman just in time. Number 15, The Case of Dee Dee and Gypsy Blanchard. The story of Dee Dee and Gypsy Blanchard is one that shocked audiences when it was detailed in the HBO documentary Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. In a classic case of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, Dee Dee gave her daughter Gypsy medication for years to make her appear sick.
What medical conditions did you believe you suffered from?
Leukemia, asthma, both vision and hearing impaired, muscular dystrophy, and seizures.
When Gypsy finally became aware of her mother's actions, she and her boyfriend conspired to exact a cold-blooded revenge on her. The highly publicized incident clearly inspired this season 19 episode, where two young people with physical disabilities lash out at their mother.
What happened?
She said I was her daughter forever, that I'd always need her to take care of me. So I hit her with the hammer.
In both cases, a parent's mistreatment builds up to a point where they push their offspring to a violent breaking point. Number 14, What Happened to Kitty Genovese? The life of 28-year-old bartender Kitty Genovese came to a gruesome end in March 1964 when she was assaulted and fatally wounded just outside her apartment building. After the incident, the New York Times erroneously reported that 38 people witnessed the crime and did nothing to help her.
There was a front-page New York Times article which started out describing the situation this way. 38 people watched over the course of a half an hour and did nothing.
The infamous case was instrumental in the creation of a centralized 911 emergency number and initiated the theory of the bystander effect, or Genovese syndrome. This effect came into play in the aptly titled SVU episode 41 Witnesses, in which a drunk woman is assaulted outside her apartment building. Investigation by the SVU team uncovers a host of witnesses who, like in the now debunked New York Times article, ignored her cries and never came to her aid.
So at least 10 residents saw or heard an assault.
Everybody thought someone else was calling the cops. Police could have been here in 2 minutes. Now this woman might die.
Number 13, Elizabeth Smart's captivity. On the morning of June 5, 2002, Edward and Lois Smart woke up to find that their daughter Elizabeth had been abducted right from their home. For the next 9 months, Elizabeth was held captive by Brian David Mitchell and his wife, Wanda Barzee.
I was terrified. I had grown up in a very happy home, and I really didn't know what the definition of fear was until that moment.
She was fortunately discovered and rescued by police. This agonizing case laid the groundwork for the season 4 episode Perfect. Although similarities abound in the motives of their abductors and the conditions under which they're made to live, both cases still differ greatly.
They don't need permission to get pregnant, no matter how they do it.
So that's it. We can't touch him.
Not unless we can prove he is in some way connected to Samantha Tassler's death.
Smart's eventual return home contrasts that of the SVU victim. In the fictionalized story, the investigation kicks off when the authorities find the victim after it's too late to save her. Number 12. Jussie Smollett's hoax. Famous for starring in the hit series Empire, Jussie Smollett won a lot of sympathy in 2019 when it seemed like he was the victim of a hate crime.
Jussie Smollett says that attack happened just a short distance from here. Today, police don't have any suspects or even a solid description of the men, a reported crime that has rattled Hollywood and just about everyone else.
That sympathy quickly wore off as a police investigation revealed that the incident was all a hoax orchestrated by Smollett himself. The actor had hired two men to verbally and physically attack him and tried to pass off the story as real. A couple of months after the incident, SVU drew inspiration from it for the episode Down Low in Hell's Kitchen, in which a pop star named Mathis lies about being assaulted by a serial predator.
Actually, it was number 6.
As with Smollett in real life, Mathis's stunt backfires phenomenally and results in his reputation going down the drain. Number 11. Dominique Strauss-Kahn's alleged crimes. Before the events of May 14, 2011, Dominique Strauss-Kahn was a high-ranking French politician who was set to be a frontrunner in the 2012 French presidential election. His reputation suffered a heavy blow when he was arrested on that day. Strauss-Kahn was charged with assault and attempted assault against Nafissatou Diallo, a hotel maid.
I was so scared. Had you seen Dominique Strauss-Kahn before that day?
I never see him before.
Physical details about the diplomat and maid are changed in the Scorched Earth episode. However, the maid's credibility was questioned in both the show and real life after she lied about certain details. In reality, the real-life case was dismissed before it was even brought to a jury. The fictional universe sees the diplomat acquitted of assault, but found guilty of unlawful imprisonment.
On count 3, what say you? On the charge of unlawful imprisonment in the 2nd degree, we find the defendant guilty.
Number 10. The Duggar family scandal. In this season 17 episode, a reality TV family notifies the SVU team when their daughter gets pregnant after taking a purity vow. The eyes of suspicion first home in on the reality show's cameraman.
Pete Matthews did this to Lane? Our cameraman?
What can you tell me about him?
He's one of our long-term crew members. Our kids grew up with him. We trusted him.
But after he's cleared, they fall on the pregnant girl's older brother. Although the sibling is vindicated by DNA, this plot is reminiscent of the once popular Duggar family. They were rocked with scandal when it was revealed that Josh Duggar assaulted 5 people.
Josh has done some very bad things, and he's very sorry.
Tonight, the Duggar family speaking out for the first time about the secret that has haunted their family for more than a decade.
4 of the victims were his own sisters. Thankfully, none of these attacks resulted in a pregnancy. The aftermath of the scandal led to the cancellation of the family's TLC series. Number 9. JonBenét Ramsey's story. What happened to the young JonBenét Ramsey in her Boulder, Colorado home is a case that has left detectives and the general public puzzled for decades.
A story that is gripping the nation. It is the investigation of the murder of little JonBenét Ramsey.
The similarities between the Ramsey case and the one featured in the SVU episode Appearances are striking. Both cases revolve around a beauty pageant queen who dies via asphyxiation. The SVU victim is found on a bus. Eventually, the team is able to trace the evidence back to the perpetrator and the CEO of the company that influences him.
You can't just come barging in here.
Sure we can. We're arresting him. For what? Facilitating the murder of Sherri Lathan. You're joking.
Does it look like I'm laughing? Why don't you turn around?
Sadly, the JonBenét case didn't have the same kind of resolution. The identity of whoever took the life of JonBenét remains unknown. Number 8. The Jerry Sandusky scandal. The Personal Fouls episode detailed an investigation into the life of a famed basketball coach who is accused of inappropriate conduct with his students.
You should be in jail, man, not the Hall of Fame.
Security, get him out of here.
You're a bum. You're scum of the earth. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I guess I didn't give him enough playing time.
You know what you did.
The episode is directly inspired by the real-life Penn State scandal involving Jerry Sandusky. He was a retired defensive coordinator for the state's football program. Through his nonprofit charity, The Second Mile, Sandusky took advantage of multiple victims over a 15-year period.
The shocking story has rocked State College, Pennsylvania, long known as Happy Valley, and home to the storied football team and legendary coach Joe Paterno.
His actions were notably enabled by the silence of peers who had suspicions that crimes were occurring. SVU remains largely faithful to the truth by telling a tragic story of the mental, social, and emotional costs of delayed justice. Number 7. The 2014 Isla Vista crimes. The student community of Isla Vista, California was shaken on the evening of May 23, 2014, when 22-year-old Elliot Rodger went on a rampage and took the lives of 6 people. Prior to that evening, Rodger released a YouTube video and emailed a lengthy manifesto.
And this 141-page manifesto detailing the troubled life of an alleged killer.
The document both outlined his frustrations at the world and his upbringing, and his plans to punish humanity for it. The details of this heinous case served as the backdrop for the 2014 SVU episode titled Holden's Manifesto. While the criminal in the episode mimics the motives of the original perpetrator, his eventual fate differs from that of the actual case.
Idiots. I'm right here and no one even notices me. No one ever notices me, but that is all going to change. Very soon, everyone will know who I am.
In the real world, Rodger took his own life before he could be apprehended by the police. Number 6. David Reimer's involuntary experiment. The shocking true story of David Reimer served as the blueprint for a 2005 episode where twins exact their revenge on the psychologist who basically used them as lab rats.
He promised us, as long as we were committed to raising her as a girl.
In real life, Reimer was raised as a girl without his knowledge after a botched medical procedure. His parents were advised to make him undergo sex reassignment surgery and sent him to counseling sessions with his brother. A horrifying psychologist named John Money made them perform inappropriate acts and kept photographic records. Although Reimer eventually reversed the assignment, the experiment took a huge psychological toll on the twins.
But I didn't do it because I liked it. I did it because I wanted so desperately to fit in because I was so lonely.
Both of them suffered depression and died before they were 40. The episode's brutal outcome for the therapist doesn't make the case any easier to hear about. Number 5. Rihanna and Chris Brown domestic case. In 2009, reports and photos emerged certifying that A-list singer Rihanna had been assaulted by her then-boyfriend Chris Brown.
This happened to me, and it can happen to anybody. There are a lot of women who've experienced what I did, but not in the public. So it made it really difficult.
There are many parallels between this case and that featured in the Funny Valentine episode. Both followed a female singer who has to deal with the media frenzy that arises when her pop star boyfriend assaults her.
How you feeling?
You had to do this to Caleb?
He did it to himself. And to you.
Not according to my Twitter feed. They're either calling me a hoe or begging me to forgive him.
After the initial story coverage, Rihanna continued to have a healthy and fruitful career. However, the SVU writers strayed far from reality with a dark turn. In the episode, the rising female star on the show chooses to remain with her boyfriend and ends up losing her life. Number 4. The disappearance of Etan Patz. While some SVU storylines are nearly identical to the real-life crimes that inspired them, this 2012 installment is only loosely based on their source material. The 300th episode of the show, Manhattan Vigil, was based on the 1979 disappearance of Etan Patz, who was abducted on the way to a school bus stop.
Begged his parents to go to the bus stop. They lived in a very family-oriented area of New York back then, Soho. Everyone knew each other. He was walking and he went out of view, and that was the last time they saw him.
Patz's disappearance remained a cold case until a man named Pedro Hernandez owned up to the crime and received a life sentence for it. In the SVU episode, a young person is taken more than a decade later after a similar incident. The detectives are then able to learn from their past mistakes and are able to solve the cold case that had haunted them for years.
You're not going anywhere this time, Louis. See, it's over. And you want to know why? Because we have witnesses putting you at all of those crime scenes.
Number 3. The Ariel Castro case. The second part of season 15's 2-hour premiere involves an abandoned young man leading detectives to a den where others are held captive.
There's somebody in here. Hey, come cut this open.
Don't need an ambulance.
The episode is a dramatized account of the case around real-life criminal Ariel Castro. After taking women hostage in the early 2000s, he held them captive for years. One of his victims even gave birth while in captivity. The harrowing ordeal came to an end in 2013 when one of the women escaped with her daughter and led police back to the house.
And she comes out with the little girl and she says, "Call 911. My name is Amanda Berry."
Did you know who that was when she said that?
When she told me, it didn't register until I got the call in 911.
Castro received a life sentence plus 1,000 years for his crimes. However, he ended up taking his own life shortly after his imprisonment began. Number 2, the death of Caylee Anthony. The trial of Casey Anthony drew significant media attention in 2011 after the young mother was accused of being responsible for the death of her daughter Caylee. The victim was first reported missing in 2008 by her grandmother, who suspected foul play. After the trial went on from May to July 2011, Anthony was acquitted.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
And the acquittals continued from there. Not guilty on all of the most serious charges against her.
This case set the backdrop for the season 10 episode that aired before Anthony's trial even began. The episode borrows heavily from the real-life crime. However, its conclusion, which incorporates themes of anti-vaccination and religion, is a major deviation from the actual story.
The lax safeguards of the New York park system allow people with deadly and communicable diseases to mingle freely with the elderly and children. We are suing the city of New York for $100 million.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, the Pregnancy Pact. In 2008, a school in Massachusetts made international headlines when it was revealed that some students had allegedly planned to get pregnant together.
The nation was shocked when reports broke that 18 high school girls from Gloucester, Massachusetts, all decided to have babies at the same time.
As some of the girls were very young, the news was met with strong criticism and raised questions about assault. The SVU episode Babes presents a fictional account of the case. During the narrative, the pact serves as a backdrop in the investigation of the deaths of 2 people.
You wanted to get pregnant?
Yeah. We all did. We grew up together. Now we're gonna have kids together. How sweet is that?
The real story has been dramatized in multiple media. However, the actual subjects of the case have gone on record to deny the existence of any pact. This time around, the show's fiction may have been stranger than reality. What real-life crime would you like to see get an SVU treatment? Let us know in the comments below.
What the hell do you know about it? I was happy. I was fine. Me and my son, we were just making it work. It was my choice. And you took that away.